Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France, and of course you good old boys in Africa. We love the Big C tribe. We love them in Canada, but Big C, there's no one we love more than you good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful April 9th, 2018. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys down south?
Well, Charlton, trying to recover from this Masters hangover down in Augusta. I mean, it was chilly, it was hot.
Yeah.
Too much liquid, kept me going right back and forth. I don't know where it was.
Yeah.
There was a lot of trees down there that made me feel comfortable behind the bushes.
Yeah, I look at how pretty that Masters golf course is, and one thing never came to my mind until I started talking to you. I said, why are there so many trees and no restrooms, Big C? Do they use the trees for the natural outdoor restroom, Big C? Is that what they're doing?
Well, Charlton, you see some yellow flowers here and there and stuff, who knows whether that's natural or not. You don't want anything disturbing with the natural landscape down there, so you don't put those 40 potties all over the place and stuff.
Yeah.
You have enough shrubbery and hidden areas, keep out of camera view.
That's funny. One time I stood on the top of Half Dome at Yosemite National Park, and I obviously they have some outhouses along the trail for a Half Dome. Now, how natural is it when they tell you to come enjoy nature? There are no outhouses in nature, Big C. Are the outhouses for the animals or for the people, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, there's a old analogy. Does a bear do whatever in the woods?
Yeah.
I know you guys got those animal crossings out there in California.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out whether animals can read or not.
Yep.
But I don't know if they say use a porta potty. So last I checked, animals just they didn't try to hide. They just did whatever they had to do.
Yeah, I thought Peter would be upset they have Animal Crossing. Out here in California, all the good old boys line up their pickup trucks with all their hunting gear by the Animal Crossing signs because animals can read and they catch dinner a lot easier, Big C. I do want to say this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. You can drive a car or you can drive a Cadillac. So, Big C, I know we have so much to talk about in the world of sports and news, and entertainment is amazing, especially on the Big C Sports Show. I'm so grateful that I had the chance to see a good Masters competition, at least down the end, with Fowler coming up close, coming in second to Reed. And obviously, the NBA, if you don't like NBA basketball right now, then it's hard to like it because this has been playoff basketball for it seems to last at least 2 weeks, Big C. Also, some things happening in the world of baseball. But I'd be remiss if I didn't see, I got a tweet from one of my good old friends down there at CNN. And he said, have you heard about POTUS and his attorney, Michael Cohen? The FBI raided his office, his home, and found several documents related to pornography. Now, I don't know if it's with the porn star Stormy Daniels because they said they weren't dealing with her. So, did you hear the same news that I heard, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, we talked about it last week, Charlton, on the show that porn is a $4 billion industry.
Yeah.
Now, we already know that Michael Cohen has invested $130,000 in it.
Yeah, we sure have.
That means he has a huge stockpile of DVDs sitting around.
Yeah.
In his dwelling or his office.
Keeping the economy
so
strong.
You can always keep him up to date on what's going on in the industry.
Yeah.
But, his office was raided last night by the FBI.
Wow.
And understanding that POTUS doesn't understand protocol.
Yeah.
He thinks that it has to do with Robert Mueller. Robert Mueller had nothing to do with it.
No.
You got to understand, this was a total Republican raiding of his office.
Yeah.
The FBI is run by the appointee of Donald Trump, who is a Republican.
Yep.
The special prosecutor in the Southern District of New York.
Yeah.
Now, when Trump took office, he fired 46 special prosecutors
Yeah.
to get after one guy, a guy named Preet Bharara.
Yeah.
He was a special prosecutor of the Southern District of New York, who was in charge of going after banks for fraud and misappropriation.
Yeah.
He was tying into Deutsche Bank, which a lot of Russian money was being funneled through.
Yep.
Donald Trump also had loans from Deutsche Bank.
Yep.
So he fired 46 special prosecutors just to fire one.
Yeah.
So 45 special prosecutors lost their job so he could get one guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he appointed a Republican to that position. So the special prosecutor in New York now, everybody needs to understand, this is a Trump appointee,
Yep.
not somebody from Robert Mueller. Trump appointed this guy.
Yep.
He signed off on the warrant.
Yeah.
Also, Rob Rosenstein signed off on the warrant. The FBI signed off on the warrant.
Yeah.
All Republicans signed off on this warrant. Trump's going to tell everybody at his base that it's Democrats on a witch hunt.
Yeah.
Robert Mueller is a Republican.
Yep.
So I don't even know why he wants to bring Democrats into this equation.
Yeah.
But here it is. He's having a press conference on Syria about the seriousness of Assad's regime over there poisoning his people once again.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he can only focus on himself.
Yep.
Instead of the atrocity that's going on elsewhere in the world, he wants to focus on himself.
Well,
And I
I
think
yeah.
this may push him over the top, Charlton,
Yeah.
in trying to fire Mueller. Mueller
Well-
has nothing to do with this investigation. This is FBI. All
Yeah.
the people that he appointed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if he fires Mueller, I mean, the impeachment will start at that point. The rest of the political establishment in Washington will see and say he's gone too far.
Well, you know, I heard from some good old boys back in the day. They said keep your friends close and keep your enemies closer. I never really understood what that meant because I spent more time, you know, watching sports and watching the news than reading when I was a little boy at Big C. But as I got a little bit older and I started hanging out with wise men at the barbershop, you want to get an education, watch CNN News, or hang out at a black barbershop because that's where I got a lot of education even before high school. And, you know, we've been saying a long time ago that them good old boys, they get you close so they can tear you down. There's something called Article 25 of the United States Constitution. It's called the Articles of Impeachment. And that's not put in by the Democrats. That's in the Constitution. And the fact that them good old boys that have known they don't like them behind closed doors, everybody knows that. None of the Republicans like Donald Trump. If you don't believe that, go back to when he was stomping and competing against Rubio and also, you know, Bush and them good old boys. Do you think there was a movie called Goodfellas? And when Goodfellas made you, didn't they offer you a ride, Big C, in the Cadillac, Big C, your thoughts?
I do a cornfield. But you also got to understand, Trump set up Cohen on Friday on Air Force One.
Yeah.
When he was questioned about the $130,000 payment.
Yeah.
He said, you know, you're going to have to go talk to Cohen about that.
Yeah.
His personal attorney. He knows nothing about it. So what he did was he told the FBI, go talk to him.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about this. Now think about this. If you detach yourself from Cohen on Friday, saying you know nothing about this, why are you upset on Monday when his office is raided by the FBI?
Yeah.
When you said you had nothing to do with this situation.
Yeah.
It didn't involve you.
Yep.
So this is a private citizen. The president is going out making statements for private citizens now.
Yeah.
That's beyond the political scope.
Yeah.
That's personal. And you can see the animosity on him today when he was holding his press conference.
Yeah.
He looks scared.
Well,
I mean, I don't know if you've ever been out in the country, Charlton, but when there's coyotes around and a cat, the first thing he does is run up on the roof of the house. And, I mean, he's nervous. He don't know which end to go to. And the coyotes sit there and tell him, we got all night. We're in no hurry.
Well, I think when you look at what the young kids in our society do, they make Google very popular. And we all love our country to succeed. And even though Jefferson owned slaves, they still considered that good old boy a good American president. Even though he was raping black women because they had no power, Big C. And I look at the fact that POTUS, when I look at what he's done, And whether you love POTUS or don't like POTUS, at least love the truth. That's unbiased. That's a non-biased reaction. So, Big C, I got to get your thoughts. I know that we talked about the Masters and how Donald Trump was flying to the Masters because they showed it on Air Force One. They opened the door and they had the TV on one of the big TV screens in Air Force One. They actually had the Masters up there. They showed it on TV. Okay? And now everybody's distracted about who's going to win the green jacket. But what's going on under America's nose, if they don't even understand the power of the FBI, they normally don't go after people just for fun. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it's not your everyday law enforcement. It's not Barney Fife from Barry Arthur,
Yeah.
walking around trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
When the FBI does a no-knock warrant, now you got to understand, this happened with Paul Manafort,
Yeah.
Who was directing Trump's campaign
Yep.
for president.
Yeah.
They had a no-knock warrant on him. Now they get a no-knock warrant on his personal attorney.
Yeah.
Now, there's several layers of this investigation against his attorney.
Yeah.
Campaign fraud, finance fraud, as many other things that we don't know anything about as far as the public goes.
Not yet.
They're not going to let it be known right away, and there's no need.
Yeah.
By them not letting it be known, there's only one nervous person, and he's going to constantly speak out on it.
Yep.
Every time he's going to say that the FBI is an embarrassment.
Yeah.
Jumped on Jeff Sessions today, said if I'd have known he was going to recuse himself, I'd have hired somebody else.
Yeah.
Because I thought I had a hand-picked guy that could squash any investigation about me.
Yeah.
And I found out that he had stuff on him.
Yeah.
And so he had to recuse himself so he didn't go to jail.
Yeah. And so yeah.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
And so he's mad at Sessions. Sessions had nothing to do with this.
No, it didn't.
This was the FBI. This is not the Justice Department. This is the FBI.
Yeah.
So I think that you can keep hiring people to cover for you. Eventually you'll realize everybody doesn't want to go to jail and get broke for you.
Well, hold on. You just left me some breaking news. You're saying that people don't want to go to jail for Donald Trump, Big C. Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, that's what he was suing. Because he's going to throw his son-in-law under the bus.
Yeah.
That's the next pendulum to fall.
Yeah.
You will see his pretty boy son-in-law. Say no, I had nothing to do with Jared.
Yeah.
You should go to Jared. This is not a Zeno commercial.
So he went to Jared.
About that type of diamond. He went to Jared.
So here's a question. Here's a question for every father-in-law and every son-in-law in the country. If you're a son-in-law and you know your father-in-law is crooked and you know that he likes you so much that he has you oversee some of his crooked dealings, and now the FBI shows up. If you're the son-in-law and you know you're being left to watch over some crooked dealings and the FBI shows up, do you do time for your father-in-law or do you drop dime on your father-in-law? Big C, which one's going to do some time, Big C?
But Charles, I got to look at it from this perspective. Who has less time on this earth? Donald Trump, okay?
Yeah.
Jared Kushner is the younger of the two.
Yeah.
There's a little more life to live. and Donald is the king. I mean, you mentioned Goodfellas earlier.
Yeah.
We've all seen the movie with Joe Pesci, Robert De Niro.
Amazing.
Great cast, Ray Liotta.
Yep.
Beautiful actors in this movie.
Yeah.
But, it came a time you could only burn so many people.
Yeah.
Then somebody had to go.
Yeah.
And we look at the president now. He plays the blame game.
Yeah.
He blames previous administrations.
Yeah.
He blames Obama. He blames Bush. Neither one of them have anything to do with the climate of politics that's going on right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
His actions as a president has been signing executive orders.
Yep.
He's told everybody he's passed this tremendous tax act. That's for all his friends and billionaires in America.
Yep.
Because the average citizen is going to get $1,000 back. And I'm not smart, but I wish all the average citizens do like me. Get a pencil and a piece of paper.
Yep.
And divide 1,000 by 12.
Yeah.
and then divide that 1,000 by 52. See how much money you're going to get a week and a month.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, or even divide it by 365.
Hey, Big
To
Z.
see how much you'll get a day.
Yeah, yeah,
So
Yeah.
that's what the president did for you.
yeah,
But he allowed these huge tax breaks for his friends.
yeah,
Now, we look at how many teachers have been on strike
yeah,
since he's become president, Charlton, about lack of funding
yeah,
for their own pensions, their salary, and even for their school districts, Charlton.
yeah,
We look how many businesses have started closing up.
yep,
You know, since he's been president, he touted that, you know, how he was going to keep businesses in America and going to keep people from closing up.
yeah,
Because he fooled everybody with Courier air conditioning when he gave them $7.5 million in incentives to stay open in Indiana.
I would stay too. I would move to
That's
Indiana.
only one company.
Yeah, that,
Toys R Us closed up.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of this month.
that's a good point too, Big C.
You know, and that's 233 stores.
Yeah, it's a
Not
lot.
one company like Courier
Yeah.
in Indiana. That's 233 stores across the country that people are not going to have money come the summer.
That's a very
Plus
good
the
point.
other closings and firings that occurred. So you can only throw that smoke screen at your base so long, saying we're going to build this wall.
Yeah,
We're going to keep all the Mexicans from coming into this country.
yep,
Of all the executive orders that he has signed, and he'll say, well, I got Neil Gorsuch on the Supreme Court.
yeah,
There was going to be a Supreme Court justice on the court regardless.
yep,
The Republicans blocked Obama. They wanted a Republican in. Gorsuch is not going to back him
no.
because he's not going to lose his Supreme Court appointee because of him.
I want to ask you a
So-
question. I want to
Yeah.
ask you a question, Big C. I know you read a lot more than I do, but I was trying to follow Rush Limbaugh today, and I was trying to prepare for Sean Hannity, you know, last week to see how they were looking at why they think it's so easy that most people date porn stars and date women that do whatever they want to do. I'm not judging any woman. Do what you want to do if it pays the bills, as long as it's legal. But have they found President Obama's birth certificate that Donald Trump swore that he was going to deliver to the United States citizen? Has the FBI that found the pornography in his attorney's office found anything to do with a birth certificate? They've had a lot more time to look for it. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, I'm going to assume that Michael Cohen may have had an authentic copy of President Obama's birth certificate, and he files also since he was Donald Trump attorney, and he has all these important documents.
Yeah.
So they can most likely find the actual birth certificate in Cohen's files that
Yeah.
he had in his office.
Yeah,
But when you think about our president,
yeah,
who is constantly trying to deflect
yep,
from what's important, you know, here it is. You're talking about Syria. You said that you're bringing all the troops out of Syria.
yeah,
What happens as soon as he said he's going to bring the troops out of Syria? Assad bombs his people again.
yep,
So you're not bringing the troops out of Syria now.
nope,
You said you defeated ISIS. We see an ISIS attack every 2 weeks somewhere in the world.
yeah,
But you defeated ISIS. You
Yep.
know, when we look at what you don't do here in this country, is that if there was never anything, you keep talking about, well, they haven't found any collusion. They haven't found any collusion.
Right.
You keep saying that.
yeah,
They may not be looking for collusion. That's what everyone needs to understand right now.
yeah,
I never thought that Robert Mueller was looking for collusion from day one.
no,
I think that he was looking for misappropriation of funds, illegal financing
yep,
that was going on with the Trump Corporation
yeah,
to allow him to become president.
yeah,
That has always been my thought of Robert Mueller.
yeah,
Not to say that we know that the Russians have meddled,
yeah,
and whatever meddling they did, we know. But I think that Mueller's outset was to prove that Trump was a crooked person.
well, he can Google
And
that,
he
yeah,
wanted to destroy him in his personal life, not just the presidency, remove him from that office,
yeah,
but once he left the presidency, is it in the old analogy, what old folks used to say, we'd never pot to piss in or when they were bad.
you know, and speaking of old folks, this is a history lesson and a civics lesson for anyone who studies law. And I remember when I was studying law back in college, young people, we want the answers now. We live in a fast food society. That means we want to drive up in the fast food line. We want to order a number 1, 2, or 3, and we want that food to be paid for within less than a minute. If we got to wait behind 2 or 3 cars, we think, come on, what's taking so long? By the time we get our food, you ever notice you go through fast food, you probably eat the food before you even drive 2 or 3 miles away. Well, the old folks, the one with common sense, like grandma's food, grandpa's cooking, you good old boys with that moonshine and you guys do down south, it doesn't happen in 2 minutes. When you do a thorough job, it may take a few months. It's going to take some time to prepare a nice meal. It's not a fast food. And so what's happening right now is really about our Constitution, irrespective of Democrat or Republican. Do we really trust the agencies that say that someone's infiltrated our elections? If we knock the CIA and the FBI, are they perfect? No, they're an oligarchy of power. But if we don't trust them, who do we have? So when POTUS comes out and slams them and says that the people that have been keeping our country safe for centuries, that they're crooked, that we can't trust them, that we should trust him and his attorney with the porn star tapes or whatever he had in his office. I just think for young people, understanding the process is more important to take your time and do it right. I think what's the SOS band told us, they said, baby, we can do it. Take your time, do it right. It's just not starting to make sense to me, Big C. Your thoughts?
When you look at this investigation, and you spoke about our fast food mentality society now.
Yeah.
Look at this Robert Mueller investigation like Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah.
It's 2 to 3 days to cook.
Yeah.
With everything, all the trimmings, the desserts.
Yeah.
Everything that applies versus going through that fast food, as you said. Once the time you place your order, within 120 seconds, you're driving away with your meal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanksgiving is 2 to 3, sometimes 4 days, putting the pies, the cakes, getting the dressing together, and all the other things that you got to prep.
Yep.
That's what this investigation is like. Think about it. When you walk into the house, you smell everything.
Yep.
But you can't eat anything.
Nope.
You know, your mother, your grandmother said, don't touch that. Don't put your hand in that. You know, you sit there and you salivate. You got the plate from the smell of everything.
Yeah.
You know it's going to be good. But they make you suffer for 2 to 3 hours once you get into that house.
Yeah.
Sitting there, you know, you salivating. Somebody, have some crackers or something, Have some dip. I want a plate. And that's what this investigation, if anybody's really looking at this Mueller investigation, think about showing up at grandma's house for Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah.
That you arrive at noon.
Yep.
Dinner's not served till 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And you sit around ready to pass out. Stomach growling like 3 dogs,
Yeah. In fact, when I was a little boy, we would go by grandma's house and eat the Thanksgiving dinner. And sometimes after everybody's eaten and all gluttonous and you got, how you undo your pants at the end instead of just stopping at 3 plates, you go get that 4th or 5th plate, Big C. And then somebody stood up and said, man, Grandma, you put your foot in these greens. Those collard greens were good. Well, I was a little boy, and I got up early one night. Grandma was stepping in those collard greens, Big C. She did put her foot in, but it was good. Whatever she had on those toes, it was good. But I just hope that it's a history lesson for all of the young people in the United States. Whether you love Democrats or Republicans, you got to at least love this country. And I got to say that for Black Americans, African Americans, even if you look at the Native Americans especially, if you love this country, you know you love this country because we've been tormented for many years. In fact, before we get into some sports, Oprah Winfrey was doing something on 60 Minutes last night. And I know it's a southern state. I'm not sure if it's Alabama. I think it was Alabama, down in your neck of the woods, Big C. There's a museum that's opening up. And it was kind of hard to watch because they have the names of all the slaves that were lynched by white Americans in this country down south. And not only did they have these plaques that were listed, Big C, they were all hanging from the rafters. And as gripping as that was, and Oprah talked about it on 60 Minutes last night, they wanted people to see and get a reaction over the final moments of many of those slaves that were all murdered. Okay, they were murdered by American citizens and some by law enforcement, but these mob mentality people, and they left the plaques hanging so you could get a sense of how painful it was. And some slaves were even burned the same way you start a fire. They were set on fire by these Bible-toting folks, and they gathered around the lynchings as if they were gathering around a prize fight. and they did it with impunity. Now, I know people say, well, why do we have to keep going back in the past? It didn't happen to white Americans. So a lot of white Americans might say, okay, we already know about that. Imagine looking at your little grandchild, or your daughter, or your parents, brothers and sisters, hanging from a tree for doing nothing wrong. And then you say, well, let's look past it because things are not the same now. The fact of the matter is, wrong is always wrong, and right is always right. And 50 years from now, looking at what's happening with Donald Trump, the Constitution is more important than how you like somebody. Big C, that make any sense?
Well, Charlton, you think about Donald Trump being devoid of history. You got to realize, 50 years ago today, they buried Dr. Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
He paid no homage
Nope.
to this great American humanitarian and citizen. He has no sensitivity towards minorities in any capacity. This is a day that is just as sorrow as any other day that any president
Yeah.
that was laid to rest, any politician that was laid to rest. But 50 years ago today, they laid Dr. Martin Luther King to rest in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Donald Trump didn't even acknowledge that.
Not a one.
He has no sense or sensibility of black history or black America, Charlton.
No.
Just as you speak about those blacks that were hung
Yeah.
hundreds of years ago, decades ago,
Yep.
by white people committing, as we all want to say, terrorism in America.
Yeah.
Whites have been the number one terrorists in America towards other citizens.
Yep.
And they're easy to point out if someone from another country comes here and puts in an attack, that it's a terrorist act on American soil.
Yeah.
Whites have been committing terrorist attacks on American soil forever. Go back to Oklahoma in the 40s when they burnt down an entire black town.
Yeah.
Because they were upset about the economic advancement of the black community.
It was called the black
They had
stock
a black
market.
Stock market.
Yep.
And everything.
Tulsa, Oklahoma. Yep.
And white America burned it down. No firefighters would come across from the white side of town to put out the fire. That
Nope.
was white terrorism in America. And people say, well, that was, 80 years ago. Yes, it was. But think about all those black Americans that died 80 years ago.
Yeah.
That no longer have a legacy in life.
Yep.
That no longer have children, grandchildren, because their lives were brought to an end.
Yeah.
So you don't know what the advancement of black society would be if that city had a state.
Yeah.
It stumbled. Every time blacks have an advancement, there's a wall that's put up. Just like Trump wants to put up a wall on the southern border.
Yeah.
You think about this. Here's a country that is in such a deficit economically, education-wise.
Yeah.
Put $20 billion into our education system in America.
Yep.
You don't need to build a wall.
That's true.
Put $20 billion into education. You never hear our president talking about advancing education in America. You never hear his education secretary talking about advancing education in America.
And you know, Big C?
Education,
Yeah.
Education is just as important as the sports that we talk about.
Yeah.
Because without that education, starting at the embryonic level, Charlton,
Yep.
no one ever has an opportunity to advance to play sports.
I think about what you said, and I remember when JFK was assassinated, his brother started to run for the office, and he went down to Mississippi, and he said that he found something in Mississippi that he thought was so egregious, it's a lightning rod for him, Big C, and he felt that he had come back home to have dinner with his family, and his family had a table full of food, and there, we talk about how black grandmothers put their foot in it. They did everything they could to grow food and feed their families, even with enmity coming from the government, the land of the free, the home of the brave. And when he went back home after visiting some of those families down south in Mississippi, he said, now this is kidding, we're going back 50 years ago. He had such a better understanding of what people of color were going through that was caused by the land of the free and the home of the brave and our presidents. And Donald Trump doesn't even have his decency 50 years later. So I just want to bring it up that it's not always a white or a black thing. It's a human thing. You can always do the right thing irrespective of what color you are. And while a lot of good old boys were wondering about the Masters, who's going to win the green jacket? Muller's doing his thing, and life goes on. But I just hope that, especially for people who love sports, don't be ignorant. Don't be a sycophant. Our country's more important than who won the Masters. Big C, I do want to say that sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. And for every athletic and sporting event, you need athletic and event insurance. We go through Ben and Mark. They've been around half a century. They work with Big C Sports. Whether you're a pro team, a collegiate team, a high school team, even your mom and pop soccer leagues, when you reach out to them, let them know Big C sent you at 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. Big C, speaking of the Masters, I know you were down south and you have the chance to go see the tradition like none other, but I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you this question. Did they let you get in without sending you through those batons and asking you 90 questions? Where you're born, where your first one's from, and where you're going after you leave here, boy? Did they treat you like a guy that loves the game of golf? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, as a great rapper would say, all eyes are on me. I felt the whole time.
Yeah.
Everywhere I went, I had eyes on me.
I think that's Tupac. Yep.
Walking in, walking out. It's like, guys, I have the same thing on as everybody else.
Yeah.
But I didn't see a lot of us down there.
Yeah, I know.
I know. That's just the way it goes. But
yeah.
Even in trying to get up to the 18th green, Charles, it was like, no, you're not allowed in this area. Why? Hey. So,
you mean you weren't?
I was even ostracized from being in that part, so I never got a chance to see the winning putt.
Yeah,
because I couldn't get up close enough. So. But you think about in this day and age, is that even in a place that's nationally broadcast, that they will not put the cameras on a situation like that because they don't want to destroy their tradition.
Like none other.
They want to think that it's for every man.
Yeah.
The Masters is not. There's separatism there just like it is in many other places still in America.
Yeah.
But that's a place that when you go in there, Charlton, you feel an uneasiness to a degree.
Yeah.
Unless you're really high up in the media echelon.
Yeah.
That, you'll get a pass because you work for a certain network.
Yeah.
But without that, Charlton, you're not even treated like a first-class citizen.
Well, that's something that people sometimes... You ever date somebody and there's a movie that says she's just not that into you, and sometimes they're smiling in your face and they're grinning and telling you they appreciate you, and mostly because you have a jersey on, Big C. Okay, that's reality. And in real life, though, and this is for our white and black American broadcasters, all of our brethren out there, and I know back in the days of Bryant Gumbel and even Vern Lindquist and Jane Kennedy, when they were the vanguards for black American media, what oftentimes people don't see is when you don't have that press credential on, or you're not with that big label, network, and people can see, oh, those are the guys I see on TV. Sometimes you get treated with the same enmity. And in order to fix that, we got to talk about it. I know the great Senator John McCain. I know the Keating Five, and people, they always want to bring that up, but I still think he's a decent man. He's not a perfect man, but John McCain, he served this country, and he's a decent man, and he did not fall for that racism when that lady called President Obama a Muslim, as if something's wrong with that, but he wouldn't play along with it the way Donald Trump did with the birther garbage, okay? So when you're a media brethren, and we want to run down to the Masters, and we want to see how they treat people, sometimes you're not made to feel welcome, and I want people to know that, because we can't root out the discrimination unless we talk about it. Big C, did I get a birdie or did I bogey that hole, Big C? Your thoughts?
Charlton, you got a birdie. I mean, when you get your press credentials questioned 2 and 3 times, it's like it's the same as everybody else's that they have around their neck. My lanyard looks just like theirs. It's not, something that I created in the shop at home.
Exactly.
I got my press credentials from the press booth.
Yep.
But here it is, you're questioning my press credentials everywhere I want to, Charles.
Yeah.
I had to go through the same clearance that everybody else did.
Yep.
But, when you get certain people that they're looking at you because they don't recognize you, that's fine.
Yeah.
But my press credentials are legitimate.
Yeah.
And here's my ID to prove that who I am. I have the same little swatches on mine that everybody else's. When you run it through the scanner, it's legitimate.
Yeah.
So why are you questioning me over and over?
Yeah. Well, we know that goes on, but the thing about Big C Sports, we don't hide behind racism and that pseudo-racism and all that garbage that people think. Oh, we thought that ended back in 1964. That still exists? Yeah, it still exists. That's why we'll shout it out every go. But I want to bring up the good old boy that won. I know there was a build-up to Tiger. There was a build-up to Phil and Rory McIlroy. But that good old boy, Patrick Reed, I congratulate him finishing 15 under, winning the Masters, and wearing that green jacket, $11 million purse. It is a beautiful course. Socially, we got some things to work on. Even I would have thought that even the great Jim Nantz would have acknowledged coming out of Dr. King's, celebration 50th. But I can't expect a lot out of people who are just ignorant and they don't even talk about things that affect a whole group of people. So when I look at things, and Oprah said something last night too, and I want to touch on that before I get into the Masters. Oprah's such a brilliant person. Not only did she grow up, as they say, on the opposite side of the tracks, she's become a paragon of virtue. She's become a billionaire. She's become someone who's well respected. But I just go back to what I was thinking about last night, and I forgot the name of the reporter that she was talking to, about how our criminal justice system, it racially profiles black Americans. It always have, from lynching, the movie Birth of a Nation that the knucklehead President Woodrow Wilson loved and applauded, that, glorified the Ku Klux Klan. So if Oprah and people like Big C Sports don't talk about some things that are still going on, it's just going to be left up to the dumb people to tell what's going on in history. That's why we say Google everything. But I want to get back to this Masters winning. I know that Reed won it, even though he's not the crowd favorite. You're looking at Tiger, you're looking at McIlroy, even Spieth. Does having a guy that's really not a crowd favorite win the Masters, does it do any good after one of the biggest build-ups to the Master in a long time because of Tiger? Big C, your thoughts?
Charlton, golf lost so much momentum this past weekend by Reed's winning.
Yeah.
And, I look at Tiger and Phil in the build-up going to the Masters. I don't know if either one of those guys will ever compete again as far as on the top of the leaderboard on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
When we look at the top four finishes, Charlton, all of them are under 30 years of age.
Yeah.
Okay, we're talking about 25 through 29.
Yeah.
So we're not going to be looking at guys in their mid-40s going out competing with guys, Charlton, that are 10 to 15 years younger than them.
Yeah.
Week in, week out. You just don't have the physicality to do that.
Yeah.
We love the name of Tiger and Phil. We want to see them compete against each other, Charlton.
Yeah.
But these young players out there, and Reed's a nobody really on the course. Even McIlroy blasted him on Friday.
Yeah.
And which I couldn't understand.
Yeah.
You're taking shots at a fellow. You're not even a U.S. citizen.
Yeah.
Now think about if McIlroy was from Mexican.
Yeah.
Taking shots at Reed.
Yeah.
The president would have chimed in.
All over him.
But since he owns golf courses over in Ireland, I guess he'd been hanging out with Conor McGregor and had a little of that Irish whatever, turn up in his system after watching Conor McGregor throw a dolly after a bus.
Yeah.
And so he wanted to throw a club after Reed.
Well, yeah,
when you talk about
lack
of professionalism in a sport, and they say golf is a gentleman's sport.
Yeah.
Rory McIlroy played the role of a thug.
Yep.
Think about if Tiger had said something like that about Phil.
Yeah.
When Tiger and Phil were in their heyday.
Yeah.
If he had thrown a kink like that at Phil, what would have been the outcry from the media? It's almost like they gave him a pass.
They did give him a pass.
It's like, he's just, he's just in the heat of battle.
Yeah.
No, it was intentional.
Yeah.
And professionals, I mean, I'm looking at the PGA.
Yeah.
There should be a fine thrown at McIlroy, at least suspended from a tournament.
Yeah.
I mean, you let him do this, Charlton, what's the limit now?
Yeah.
Because he's white, and Reed is a darker complexion.
Yeah.
He's not totally white. He's mixed with something else.
Yeah.
But, you know, you allow McIlroy to take these underneath shots
Yeah.
at the leader of the Masters because he's upset he's not getting the press play.
And one of the announcers called. I was watching the Golf Channel, and one of the announcers called him on that. But it was about a 3-second ridicule. He said, "Well, that's not good," and then he went on to something else. Pixie. He didn't want to spend too much more time other than that's not good. But I know if it hadn't been Tiger saying something like that, it would still be news today. I thought McIlroy needs to be at least apologize to the guy because it's still a gentleman's, quote unquote, a gentleman's sport supposedly, even though it's very discriminatory, which is kind of an oxymoron to me that good old boys and gentlemen discriminate. I mean, we know that none of the golfers speak out about discrimination. They're trying to slowly, but they do it with a softball as opposed to a fastball, Big C. But even with that said, you know, congratulations to Reed. But I want to get your thoughts on Fowler. We had just talked earlier in the week about how Fowler does that commercial where it was an insurance commercial where someone had stole some grass, and he said, not the kind of grass you good old boys get down with in Colorado, but and speaking of stealing grass, he said, well, what happened to the patch of grass? And they knocked on the door, and it was Ricky Fowler, and he said, Ricky, have you seen a patch of grass laying around? And he said, no. And he closed the door, and he went back to chipping and putting in the golf on the stolen grass. But I thought he played so well coming down the stretch. In fact, I think he was just -2 going into the weekend, and to finish in second place, Fowler, he showed me what a champion is. A champion doesn't always win, but a champion also doesn't fade, and he's still a young man, and I love the fact that he was chasing right down to the 18th hole, Big C. That, to me, was more of a storyline than Reed winning. The fact, because Reed almost went wire to wire after Spieth relinquished the lead, but Fowler to come from so far behind and pull a Usain Bolt and almost win that good old boy. Your thoughts on Fowler, Big C?
Well, you think about Fowler shooting a 67 on Sunday.
Amazing.
Normally in any major, when you shoot a 67 on Sunday, you normally win that tournament.
Yeah.
And, you know, he was a shot off the lead, but, you know, a phenomenal round of golf, but even more so prescient than what Fowler did. You think about what Jordan Spieth shot a 64.
Amazing.
Now, I'm trying to remember the last time I saw a 64 shot on Sunday and did not win a Sunday.
I know.
Did not win the tournament.
I know it. I know
but,
it.
You know, he had the lead day one.
Yeah.
But he faltered in a couple middle rounds at Charlton.
Yeah.
And slipped down the leaderboard.
Yeah.
If he had not have faltered in the second or third round, Charlton, he would have won that tournament going away. You think about how well he and Fowler played. And you think about it. The way that Spieth played and Fowler played on Sunday is getting more accolades than Reed winning the tournament.
I know it.
That lets you know that golf is in a troubled state.
Yeah.
The guy that wins the Masters wins $11 million is not the talk of Monday.
No, he's not.
It's the guys who finished second, third, and fourth.
Yeah.
McIlroy, Fowler, Spieth.
Yeah.
These are the headlines that the guys who did not win are more popular than the guy who didn't win and now has a 10-year exemption of playing at the Masters.
That's very true, Big C. And I want to ask you, one of the native Georgians, that good old boy Bubba Watson, I like the way he played. He closed. He shot 9 under for the tournament. Didn't get the win, obviously. Never really threatened too much. But I like the fact that he's consistent. And the fact that he was in his neck of the woods. And I don't even think he had an outhouse to use, Big C. And they made Bubba walk the whole course. Maybe they cut away when them good old boys got to go relieve themselves. But just give me your thoughts on Bubba. Again, he played in the NBA All-Star game. And when we talk about the crossover appeal of golfers, and how do we take it from being this white exclusive thing that good old boys were proud of, the discriminatory nature of golf, when golf is a universal sport. It's not a good old boy sport. It's for people who love getting out there in the links. I think Bubba's one of those guys that can transition from golf to other sports. Give me your thoughts on good old boy Bubba and how well he played coming in 9 under, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, he's always a local favorite, Charlton, when he's at Augusta growing up, you know, not too far away.
Yeah.
And so he has his fanfare, and he's won the tournament twice.
Yeah.
But this just lets you know the state of golf. That, like you said, You know, what's the difference of him versus everybody else? He doesn't have the lefty appeal of Phil.
No.
Even though he's a better golfer right now than what Phil is.
Yeah.
And he's more consistent. And he was in the tournament to a degree. You think about it, shooting 9 under Augusta is very respectful.
Yeah.
You know, because there was a log jam there right there around 10.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the tournament, Charlton, you know, guys that were within, 2 to 3 strokes each side of that.
Yeah.
So it became very competitive. But Reed, you know, with the lead that he had, took away a lot of the emotion of the other golfers.
Yeah.
Even though the media didn't hype Reed. Can you imagine if it had been Spieth in the lead, or even Tiger or Phil,
Yeah.
or even McIlroy? If they had been in the lead like Reed was,
Yeah.
going down the stretch, what would the hype have been?
Yeah.
You know, but you could even see at the end of the tournament
Yeah.
that the emotion wasn't there even in the crowd.
No.
When Tiger and Fields had faded, Tiger had a larger gallery, Dalton.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Shooting even golf. I think he shot 69 on the day.
Yeah.
But he had a larger gallery than anybody in the tournament.
Yeah.
He was not even in competition from day one.
Yep.
He was out of it.
And he shot.
Day
Yeah.
two, it was over because he shot a 75 and Phil shot a 79.
Yeah. Tiger finished
But-
1 over, and I think Phil. It goes down even. Tiger finished 1 over for the tournament, and Phil
He finished in
finished 2 over.
32nd place.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, you know, the galleys that followed those two golfers, because there's something about sports fans,
Yeah.
is that we don't want to let go of what was good to us.
Yeah.
Sports and relationships have a lot to do with each other.
Yeah.
It's like people going through breakups. They
Yeah.
always try to find a way to rectify it,
Yeah.
to not let it go. Let's work on this. Let's go to counseling. Do whatever we got to do.
Yeah.
That's how it is when you look at fans in sports,
Yeah.
and especially in golf, because golf is a sport of errors.
Yeah.
You think about, people still talk about Arnold Palmer, Jack Nicklaus. It's been 30, 40 years since either one of those guys were competitive, Charles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay? That's how bad golf is, as far as having a new strain of popularity come along.
Yeah.
Tiger came along as their popularity was fading,
Yeah.
and Tiger commanded the sport
Yeah.
for a decade and a half.
Well.
It was Tiger. It was Tiger Watch.
Yeah. That's
And
true.
now that there's nobody that has that appeal, because Tiger came along in the multimedia age,
Yeah.
just like Jordan did in basketball.
Yeah.
So it was hard to debunk anything that he did, or anyone that came before him, because you didn't have the constant media rap
Yeah.
of seeing or hearing about them all the time.
Yeah.
Even though they were greater players, they said, well, all we know is Jordan.
Yeah.
Still today, everything is compared to Jordan, just like with Tiger.
Yeah.
Vegas loved Tiger so much, and they wanted Tiger to be competitive. They had him as a favorite 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Knowing that he
Yeah.
had not competed in over 5 years,
Yeah.
but they still had him as a favorite, because even at Vegas, they want that to occur.
Yeah, because everybody gets more money. It's like when you get someone moonshine and you fill it to the top. You don't cut it off 3 inches for the top, Big C, especially in a 4-inch cup. That makes any sense, Big C. The money flows more when you have more famous people. But I just want to say congratulations, Patrick Reed. I kind of feel bad for him because he won the Masters. That's what people want to say that's the golf game. I mean, that's the granddaddy of them all for golfers. That's the granddaddy for the golf universe to win the Masters. And he's still treated like, sometimes you get that girl and she chooses you, but the guy she really loves, he's with somebody else, Big C. Unless it's Donald Trump, you usually kind of stuck, Big C. That make any sense? You stuck with who you got, Big C.
So, you don't want to do the Trump and stuff. He's still weaseling around and stuff.
Okay, that's funny. But anyway, congratulations, Patrick Reed, the good old boy from the Masters. Big C, I want to look at a little bit at our game of baseball. And, the Japanese star, Otani, this good old boy has a 1.38 ERA, 18 strikeouts in 13 innings. The LA Angels, the only thing about him is he doesn't play for the Dodgers, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, he's also hit 3 home runs.
Yeah.
Already. You think about that, and he flirted with a no-hitter for 7 innings.
Yeah.
And this is a phenomenal young man. I know it's only the first month of the season.
Yeah.
and baseball covers about 26 weeks. But, you know, you're talking about the phenom has lived up to the hype
Oh,
thus
yeah.
far.
Yeah.
Now, he's also playing on a team that probably has the best player in baseball in Mike Trout.
He's off the
with
hook.
Angels.
Yeah.
And they have a pretty good first baseman also,
Yeah.
you know, that plays there.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you look at the cast that's around him, and he even, you know, flirted at 100 miles an hour on a couple of pitches.
Yeah.
I don't know if he can hold up for an entire baseball season.
Yeah.
But what we're seeing right now, Charlton, is something that's just phenomenal. Ohtani is just, you know, when you can go out and pitch, and then you can go out and play the field and hit 3 home runs.
Yeah.
I mean, people will talk about the Babe Ruth comparison. We don't have Babe Ruth, you know, on video.
Yeah.
But also Babe Ruth one time hit a home run against a guy who was selling hot dogs in the stand.
Yeah.
So, you know, all of his home runs are not totally legitimate.
That's funny.
You know, what we see with Ohtani is real because we see it in real time.
Yeah.
We see the newsreels of it instantly. We can watch the games on TV.
Yeah.
And so when he's throwing that split finger, and you know, that ball is moving,
Yep.
and major leaguers, we're not talking about AAA where Tim Tebow was, I mean, single A where Tim Tebow was playing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or single A where Michael Jordan couldn't hit a pitch.
Yeah.
Okay? We're
Yeah.
talking about the major leagues. He came over here from day one.
Yeah.
And he has made an impact. And
Yep.
we haven't seen this type of impact in the major leagues from an Asian pitcher or player since Ichiro up in Seattle.
Yep, he was doing his thing up in the Great Northwest. I remember that. I also want to swing the bat across the country to the East Coast. And we look at Stanton for the Yankees. I know this guy can hit, and New York's a different place. You could be the greatest guy in the world, one of the greatest athletes in the world, and New York is a love-hate relationship. People think Philadelphia is bad. In Philadelphia, they even booed Santa Claus, but New York, when this guy gets booed at times, but he hasn't, I think that's affecting him. You know how sometimes he was considered the prodigal son of baseball, especially when he's down there in Florida. And now that he's in New York's a little bit different kind of person. They're a little bit more mean. They got a little bit more attitude about him. Do you think being booed has affected his confidence? And it's hard to say that a guy who's a multi-millionaire has bad posture and confidence. But do you think going from being loved and then going to getting booed, do you think that's affected his confidence, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I don't know if it's affected his confidence, but that lets you know the state of fans now in America that you're booing a guy trying to get adjusted to a city.
Yep.
Yes, he's had 2 games where he's had 5 strikeouts in those games, Charlton.
Yeah.
And he's already struck out more times this season than what Joe DiMaggio struck out in the whole 1956 season.
Wow.
But also you got to understand, last year Stanton struck out 154 times while he was with the Marlins.
Yeah.
But he also hit 59 home runs. And he had a slugging percentage up above 650.
Yeah.
So it's going to take him a little time to get adjusted to this American League hitting, Charlton. But, you know, this is a guy who can still hit 40-plus home runs this year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's early, as we talked about with Ohtani.
Yeah.
We're only in April.
Yeah.
You know, you go on a 10, 12-game hitting barrage, all of a sudden you're batting over 300,
Yep.
and you put together a string of home runs.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know, the Yankees, when we look at it, they've never been a fast start as an organization.
no.
They have a new manager, you know, in Boone.
Yep.
So everybody's trying to get adjusted.
Yeah.
Stanton's trying to get adjusted to American League pitching.
Yeah.
You got to understand, also in the American League, Charlton, they use more pitchers in the American League than what they did in the National League.
Yeah.
And they also have the DH, so the pitchers never really get tired.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true, Big C. We look at the American League right now, the standings in the East. Boston, they are on top of the world at 8-1, followed by Toronto. They are 6-4. The Yankees are 5-5. Baltimore is 4-6, and Tampa's 1-8. In the Central Division, we have Minnesota at 4-3. Detroit's 4-4, followed by Cleveland 4-5. Chicago's 3-5, and Kansas City's 2-5. In the West, we have Houston. Them good old boys are still swinging the bat, Big C. Houston, we have liftoff. They're 8-2, followed by the Angels 6-3. And then you have Seattle 4-3, Oakland 4-6, and Texas 4-7. We'll cover more of the National League tomorrow. I want to close out just touching a little bit on the NBA. We know coming down to the final week of NBA basketball, I love this action. I mean, it's fantastic, Big C. Like, back in the day, we couldn't wait to see good NBA basketball because it was exciting. Now, you look at a team that no one really expected coming into this season, even down the stretch, the Philadelphia 76ers. They won 14 straight, and right now they're looking like they could challenge even for the top seed, even though I know Toronto has a strong grip and they've clinched. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, they're going to have their 15th tonight, Charlton.
Yeah.
This is a team that kind of got a little better when Embiid went out.
Yep.
Because Simmons became the sole hub of that team.
Yeah.
And when you think about Simmons talent-wise, we haven't seen this talent in a rookie guard really since Magic Johnson. You know, he is doing things. He's turned this organization around, being 6'9.5", 6'10".
Yeah.
When people talk about the heir to LeBron James,
Yeah.
we may be looking at it. I know a lot of people talk about Antetokounmpo in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
But I don't know if his game is complete as Ben Simmons. You know, this is a rookie.
Yeah.
And, you know, having perennial double-double nights is not uncommon
Yeah.
for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, his command of the game, he's like Magic in more ways than many that people don't realize.
Yeah.
When Magic came into the NBA, he was never known for a great jump shot.
No.
Same thing with Simmons. It was more about the penetration of Magic gave. We get a lot of that.
Yeah.
Passing off. And so other than being opposite-handed of each other, you know, this is the most likeliness that we've seen of Magic Johnson in decades in the NBA. I know everyone always talk about the next great.
Yeah.
And it's hard to say what a player is going to be 3 to 5 years down the road. But if what he's done already is an indication,
Yeah.
and in lifting Philadelphia into third slot in the Eastern playoffs, Charlton, that can challenge in the playoffs, because once you got a team night in and night out, Philadelphia is a real hard matchup to play against.
Yeah, and it brings me back to how they felt about basketball in Philadelphia, going back to Dr. J and also Allen Iverson and Moses Malone, and those teams were able to get to a finals. I mean, no one can rule them out because they're young, they're athletic, and they've won 14 in a row, maybe 15 by tonight. Really good team in Philadelphia. Maybe the process is working, but it worked more when they got rid of the guy that talked a lot. You know, maybe he'll come back and beat. But I'm really impressed with what they're doing. I want to close out LeBron James. If he plays the next 2 games, I think it'll be the first time in 15 years that he's played all 82 games in one season. Would that make him the MVP this year? James Harden, I think he's missed 8 games. And LeBron James is actually better on defense than Harden. I know Harden, people want to give it to him so they can say he got one. But it doesn't mean that he's the best player in the universe. Big C, your thoughts, LeBron James?
Charlton, when we break down the MVP of a league or a team or anything like that, you have to look at the overall contribution. I mean, since Steph won the unanimous MVP a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
LeBron James has been on fire. Even though what we saw last year with Westbrook was historical,
Yeah.
and even a tremendous season by Harden, you have to look at which team can exist or not exist without a player.
Yeah.
That's how we gauge who's the most valuable player. What is Cleveland without LeBron?
Yeah, that's
Go
true.
back 4 years ago.
Yeah.
When they didn't have LeBron. What type of team was that? When you talk about Harden missing 8 games this year,
Yep.
how many of those games did Houston go on and win?
Yeah.
When LeBron missed the game in the past, Cleveland did not win.
Yeah.
And so when we talk about what a player does, LeBron is not that many rebounds and assists from averaging a triple-double this season.
Yeah.
Just like Westbrook is, I believe, 12 assists and 34 rebounds away
Yeah.
from averaging a triple-double
Yeah.
the second consecutive season.
He can bounce the ball and dribble, that's for sure.
The most valuable player is the one who contributes the most to an organization and a league.
Yeah.
That's what you have to look at.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always a popularity contest
Yeah.
because media, and this is why they should let players vote.
Yeah.
I've never been a fan, even when I was a player, of the media voting because they get biased.
Yeah.
They get ticked off at certain players because they won't talk to them.
Yep.
They won't give them insight. They say, well, I'm not voting for that guy. We see that with Barry Bonds not in Baseball Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Roger Clemens not in Baseball Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire. Put a guy in on the merits.
Yeah.
Pete Rose.
Yeah.
We're seeing that in the NBA now.
Yeah.
Well, I like this guy. He's good. He gives me the interview.
That's always
gotten
true.
to the point where he's become jaded.
Yeah.
Because he's heard the same question for a decade.
Yeah.
And you're asking him, what does he think about an opponent?
Yeah.
And, LeBron really want to say, I don't give a damn about him when I'm playing.
Yeah.
Like the guy off the court, pissed off about how well he played tonight. You should have shut him down.
It's like what? Yep. Go ahead, Big
Players
C.
really want to say what they want to say, but they can't.
Yeah.
Because they had this respect clause.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
when they're out on the court, that's the reason why they keep that mic down, because of what the players say to each other.
Yeah.
A lot of times, Charlton. And I'll go back to the manager of the Diamondbacks,
Yeah.
baseball.
Yeah.
Last night, the Diamondbacks are playing the
Yeah.
Cardinals.
Yeah.
And Yadier Molina, great catcher for the Cardinals, all-star catcher.
Yeah.
Framed a couple of pitches. And Diamondback player struck out.
Yeah.
The manager runs from the dugout, and up gets between he and Molina.
Yep.
And the manager says, you're going to let this M whatever follow word after that.
Wow.
Keep making these calls and stuff.
Yeah.
And Molina wanted to go after him. But see, this is the situation where a manager crossed over the line.
Yeah. Yep.
He played the Trump role.
Yep.
That you could call a person out of his name, and it's accepted.
Yeah.
Now, he should be fined and suspended by Major League Baseball. Rob Manafort should say, hey, this is not going to be tolerated.
Yeah.
But these are the things that go on in these sports all the time.
Yep.
That's that intimidation factor that athletes use after. The profanity that athletes spew after each other
Yeah.
during the heated battle of a contest is sanctimonious.
Well.
Because it's between them.
Yeah.
But when somebody else hears about it,
Yeah.
they want to take it out of context.
Well, that's why back in the day they would wash our mouths out with soap, Big C. And speaking of soap, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Bandini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you've got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young men, rumble, Big C. What are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Falcon, what I'm looking forward to, the NBA has just a couple nights left in it.
Yeah.
Where Oklahoma's sitting right now, in that 7th or 8th seed once they qualify for the playoffs.
Yeah.
The team that has to play them, Charlton, the 1st or 2nd seed in the West,
Yeah.
will not make it to the finals. Oklahoma City is going to run that team into the ground. Those
What?
legs are going to be tired.
Yeah. Well.
That's what's going to happen in the West. We got 4 positions left in the West.
Yeah.
We have 5 teams competing for it. Oklahoma City will be number 7 or 8, and they're going to be a huge challenge for the number 1 or 2 seed.
Well, I tell you what, they're always running up and down the court, dribbling balls, passing balls, assisting. And I love what Russ Boogie says. He says, I'm not giving anybody MVP. He doesn't care. I like that good old boy, Big C. And speaking of liking that good old boy, every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide, follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and the good old boys down south. As we always tell you, there's never, ever any excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.